test, right? Is, yeah, it's an interesting question, but I think it's only one of the many ways to get at the self. I guess from the most basic Buddhist message is, and it's not just unique to Buddhists, but I think some other yogic schools in India share that message, is that human suffering is based on this division between self and other, right? And that's why we suffer. And what I understand of Buddhist practice is that it's meant to overcome that division.
I guess we don't have time, but I guess we could bring in Schopenhauer as well. Maybe
I love Schopenhauer. I love Schopenhauer, so I would love to go into it, because I think he has, contrary to most Western philosophers, he has a much better understanding of consciousness as an embodied phenomena, rather than this kind of mentalistic picture that most Western philosophers have, in which consciousness is identified with thinking. Schopenhauer understood really well that consciousness happens at the bodily level. So I'm all with you to talk about Schopenhauer.
We'll do it at some point.
Yeah, we can do a Schopenhauer Buddhist seminar.
I'm just interested to find out what you think that C.G. Jung was looking for when he was searching for the self in the individuation process.
Yeah, I don't have many thoughts about that, because I don't know Jung well enough. But I think it illustrates a little bit the problem that there is about talking about self, is that there are so many different angles. And so here I'm just adopting one angle, which I think is probably works relatively well, I hope at least, in relation to Buddhist ideas and practice. But there are many different ways to talk about the self. You can talk about the self as a self-organizing system. There are many different ways to talk about it, but I wanted to try to get a handle on what Buddhists, or at least some Buddhists, mean when they talk about no self.
Yeah, I was thinking actually, because he is talking about the divine aspect of the self, which of course in Buddhism doesn't exist because there is no God.
Well, I would surprise you, because Buddhism is quite a diverse tradition, and there are schools of Buddhism that argues for no self. There are schools of Buddhism that argues for emergent self. That's not what you're talking about. There are schools in Tibetan Buddhism that argue for a real transcendent self. So really complicated.
You said it's a fascinating topic. We can come to look at it from many perspectives. You said this many times. We can use a philosophical perspective. We can use the neuroscience perspective, and then the psychological, etc., etc. I come to the subject through neuroscience. So I find fascinating that 2,500 years ago, more than that, the Buddha was talking about no self. And neuroscience, through electromagnetic imaging of the brain, now can really see what is happening in the brain. And somehow, but to a certain point, and is evolving, but we know perfectly where, if I'm talking now to you, they can say which part of my brain is working.
Yeah.
And this we know really how it is. And the conclusion that there is no CEO, as you mentioned, in the core self, so no chief executive officer, is exactly the same conclusion neuroscience came to the model of the modular mind. So there is not, we cannot pinpoint anything in the brain, which is the CEO of ourself. It's modular, it's like an orchestra with like a director, and in the orchestra, different instruments can play the principal roles. And this changes over the time. So it's not only not persistent in time, but not persistent in location either. So really there is for neuroscience not a concept of the self. And I find this amazing, how you perceive this fact that so long ago Eastern philosophy, Buddhism, came to this conclusion that actually you can always we only now can find out with modern science.
Through personal experience, right? Through meditation, and that insight is actually not unique to Buddhists because many Hindus have similar insight. I mean, they argue there is a self, but it's not the self that Buddhists are denying, right? So, yeah, this is a common view in the yogic schools of Indian philosophy.
I don't really know how I can put it in a question, but I have some doubt in mind about the self and the all kind of the device during this AI algorithm thing sort of. It seems to be like nowadays in the present time, sometimes even for myself, this stuff or the system Facebook, Line, or the thing that come through us via this social media, know ourselves even more than myself, some kind like that. And I just worry a bit about the young people, especially like my young daughter now in her teenage. They seem to not really know themselves or do something that they really want to do. They seem to do something because a friend do that, and the friend follow that Instagram or kind of social media. And in the traveling, in the tourism business, they seem to be a kind of, how can I say, they say FOMO, fear of missing out. So people will go around some just places just because the movie star go or my celebrity go, that kind of thing. So don't really know about the question, but I worry about the self that cannot really develop yet in the young children, and then they have been nominated or have been motivated to do something by the algorithm. Thank you.
Okay. Actually, if you think about the self, we think that the boundaries of the self are obvious, but they're not. And because your cell phone, maybe it's part of yourself. So this is indeed a dangerous development because we are incorporating in ourselves. Remember, from a Buddhist perspective, the self is a construction, right? And so what is being included in that construction is not just our body and mind, but maybe also our cell phones. And it could be dangerous. I have no idea, I'm not a child psychologist, but it's pretty clear that it's not obvious to me that the way people use cell phones nowadays, cell phones are part of their self. And so, is this a good thing or not? I don't know. That's a real question, right? Yes?
Okay, I guess it's about time. So, would you like to give some remarks just to close this?
So it's wonderful today, wonderful debate, and wonderful discussion. Topic is that itself, I think is very important. I think this is the first question that if after we know how to make the question, we ask, right? Is that a cell? Is that a cell? Right? Today, Professor Naifas give explanation to us. And this is the very important question. That is the cause of the arising of Buddhism. Because early Buddhism, I mean Pali and Theravada Buddhism, and speak Pali Buddhism, please notice, the Buddha himself, he got enlightenment. And please notice, the first disciple who enlightenment after him is not the first sermon or second sermon. The second sermon is called Anatta Lakkhana Sutta, that I mentioned earlier. And Anatta Lakkhana Sutta is the sutta give the detail to this. And that time, come to the topic of Professor Naifas, cause cell, and the second one is like a cause cell is the one extreme, and like a composing, I forgot the technical term, right? Cause cell and composing cell, right? Cause cell is the main idea of Brahmanism or Hinduism, because even we don't have individual cell, but we have the cause cell. All of us just intend to got the cause cell, that extreme one, and when the first sermon was given, then the detail that actually the first time is no cell, that is a technical term and not there. No cell means composite cell. But Christian later, after the Theravada, after the Pali has gone, then one movement just try to create the second part of Buddhism. Maybe I can say the later Buddhism or Mahayana Buddhism. The main just change, instead of asking about the cause craving or cause of suffering. Craving is the cause suffering in the first time. Then, for Mahayana, is topic of self is that suffering just come because of self. Because your world is self and yourself and other people, that is the cause of suffering. Therefore, you try to delude yourself. I mean, you jump up to the, you put yourself into the mass, to the people. Exactly, that is the Mahayana concept, right? But that is the third part is the Vajrayana Buddhism or Tibetan Buddhism. That Professor Naifas just try to develop that today lecture from maybe from the third part, because I just learned his idea that if we cling to the first part of the self and non-self, maybe we cannot communicate to the people in the world, particularly to like a Western, right? To the concept, right? Therefore, anyway, I think the minimum cell, I think this is nuclearity. made by you, right? Minimum self.
It's cognitive
Cognitive, right?
science language.
But anyway, the topic, he proposed new thing, but even that word is the new one, is fusion philosophy. I think that is an important point. Fusion philosophy, because fusion means mix two extremes. I finally find out that even today we talk about compromise. Compromise, but anyway, one point, I forgot one thing that he showed the phenomenology, right? Phenomenology. What is the heart of phenomenology? As I know, what I learned one thing, you give the specific and point out at the moment, at the one point, right? So when we focus that, it will be different from your question about the future, because here we don't have future, because we focus only particular point that maybe if you don't focus that, maybe we cannot see what Professor Rayford want to show that because we have to focus on particular point that I think that is concrete demand from me as I understand, right? So I have to say thank you very much to first thing to all distinguished guests, to all of you. But what is my mind today to first year student? To first year student, yeah, on BA or MA, that is the main thing. You are lucky that you come to participate that event today. I interpret that now you are in international, in the best university in the world. Today we have the best lecturer. He is the worldly, the renowned world class just come today. So I hope that his lecture will give inspiration to all of you. Even today you not understand